right, Jesse on Fire, let's talk about the scandal. This is a big scandal. Here's the thing. This is not new information exactly. Like, this is all have been breaking over the last 48 hours. But I don't think people have put together what this information actually means yet. We're talking about Conor McGregor, USADA, and UFC. And I want to be very clear about this. I will tell you what is fact, and I will tell you what is hypothesis. And or just kind of, well, maybe this. And I will be very clear about that in this video. Because there's another thing going on that I'm going to do another video about, which is Jake Paul facing a $100 million lawsuit. And there is information there that I have that is this is really important for people to understand about that lawsuit. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to get sued from a YouTube video. What I'm saying is I realize you can't just be throwing, especially about this, you can't just be saying things without proof. But this is one of those things where it's it's just like the Adnan Syed thing that I talked about the other day. It's how would this guy have known where the car is? Okay. If he's not in on it, how would his best friend have known where the car is? Explain that. It's one of those things where it's just use your logic. How and why, right? So first, I want to make a disclaimer about this. I love Conor. I don't care, dude. I don't care if people turn on. I don't care. I talk on this channel. Sometimes I'll be frustrated because I'm God, he's really not going to fight. And I'm super disappointed. And so I'll make fun of him a little bit because, he's fucking, dude, he's winning in every category. I'll make fun of him. But I am a Conor fan. There is no ambiguity about that. I am a fan of the organization. No ambiguity about that, obviously. But this does not look good at all. At all, in a really meaningful way. So if you like the content, when I get through this video, go ahead and like the video. You know what? Like the video right now, dude. If you're watching it, Jesus. I took the time to make it. Why don't you just take the time to like it? And then leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think about this. You could tell me. You could just be I hate Conor. I don't care what happens. Blah, 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 blah. The thing that, on that, for some reason, people always feel they need to take a side on things. I'm I love Conor. And then I'll be I love Khabib. I respect him more than anybody. People are wait, whoa, what? Did you just say you love Conor and you love Khabib? It's yeah. Of course. I don't know either of them personally. I'm inspired by their careers and I love watching them fight. I love watching them talk into a camera. Why? You feel you need to, they're all, Khabib's amazing, Conor's a piece of shit. Or Conor's amazing, Khabib is a fraud. It's weird. Anyway, so here's the deal. So I talked about this on the channel earlier this week, I believe, where I said, nail in Conor's career, right? The nail in the coffin of Conor's career, whatever it was. And I was talking about how, this report that Conor had been out of the USADA testing pool, which was not exactly accurate. Accurate, kind of. Out of the USADA testing pool, right? And I saw that on one of the MMA news gathering channels. So I don't really know who looked into this and who broke this story initially, but they were yeah, he's out of the USADA testing pool. Hasn't been tested since July of 21. Okay, that's the Dustin Poirier fight. Okay, just to be clear, when he had been tested last was the Dustin Poirier fight, the last one where he broke his leg. Okay, so unless I am misunderstanding the data points of this story, which I am pretty sure I'm not, he hasn't been tested since the Dustin Poirier fight. And a really important note here is that for a fighter to be exempt, historically in every other case, they have to either retire or they have to be released by the organization. Conor, as far as we know, is neither. He hasn't retired, because if he had, then he would be out of the USADA testing pool. He wouldn't be active. Okay. So there's not that. He obviously hasn't been released. Okay. That's very notable later. So of course he's out of the testing pool. Everyone gets randomly tested. Everyone. Now I know Conor's, the first time anyone talked about this, the reason why someone was looking into this, I'm sure, is because Conor's floating around on a yacht on the other side of the other side of the globe. And so people were how is he getting tested by USADA? All the fighters, where the USADA guy just shows up at their house, are what? I don't understand. How is USADA getting there? Is Conor paying for them to come out or what? So obviously the implications of him being out of the USADA testing pool would be drastic, because if you get out of the USADA testing pool, then you have to, test for 6 months to get back in. Henry Cejudo's going through the same thing. Chael talked about this in his channel. On his video about this when he said, what's Conor going to do? And it turns out that Conor's not out of the USADA testing pool. Okay. But the other part is accurate. Okay. So think about that just for a second. Conor McGregor is the only active fighter in the USADA testing pool that has not been tested in 2022. And unless I misunderstood the original story, he wasn't tested after the Dustin Poirier fight. Why is that notable? I will tell you. Very notable in a second, okay? So here's the deal. I don't know the relationship between UFC and USADA. I don't really understand how it works. All I know is that Nowitzki, you know what? I'm not even going to say I know. What I've heard is rumored is that Nowitzki used to be the USADA guy, and then he got hired by the UFC, and he facilitates the relationship between UFC and USADA. And the only reason I know that is because he was kind of the front guy, you know, like kind of forward-facing guy for the organization when the John Jones thing happened. And he's the one explaining to people about how, you know, the pulsing and the picograms and all that. And, you know, look, like, I don't know anything about that stuff. I mean, well, I know about some of it. I don't know anything about, like, the pulsing or any of that. Like, I have no idea. I don't know. So I'm not a person who's going to come on here and be like, you remember when he was bullshitting the public about blah? Dude, what? He certainly is more educated than me. I have no idea, right? But the relationship between USADA and the UFC is important because it determines whether or not this is like an actual governing body, or it's like a governing body, or it's like an organization posing as a governing body that kind of is beholden to the organization in a way where they can control, like, what comes out, what doesn't, right? Like, we haven't had a major, I feel like we haven't had like a really major hot test from someone who is really a big star in a long time. Now, does that mean that, I mean, that could mean a lot of things, right? That could mean that there's some new shit out there that is like untraceable. That could mean that no one is on. It could mean that, or it could mean that the organization is like, they have the ability to bury certain tests, you know, do some kind of sanction with the fighter, like behind the scenes, like, look, man, you can't be doing this. Or they're just like, fuck it. It could mean anything. And let me just make clear, I am not making any accusations here. Who knows, right? But this particular one with Conor is notable because if it's a governing body that has no relationship with the UFC, how the fuck is Conor active and not tested since the middle of 21? How is that possible? How is that possible? How could he go 15, 16 months without getting tested? If the governing body is working independently, how would Conor not be getting sanctioned? Like, just, I mean, there's plenty of international fighters. And the fact that it's Conor, right? Like, if it was some other random fighter, they're like, hey, we just realized that it's this random dude. Hasn't been tested since his fight in 21 when he broke his leg, but he's still active. It'd be like, oh, weird. It must be some kind of clerical oversight or some kind of random thing, right? But it's Conor, okay? It's Conor. If there is a variant in something having to do with Conor, then you have to look and go, all right, like, what might this be about? Because obviously he is by far the most valuable asset that the UFC has under contract. Like, I know I recently was like, you know, Nate Diaz is the most popular fighter in the UFC. And I'm basing that on like the attention that he gets and just kind of like, I don't know, how endearing how endeared people are to him. Whatever. Pretend like I know how to speak English for a second. But like Conor, in terms of like driving revenue, it's Conor all day. Okay. Now, why is this notable? Is it because, you know, the UFC really wants to let Conor go out and get super buff, you know? Like, they want to give him free reign to get super buff so he can go up to 170. No, of course not. Okay? And I want to stress hard that I'm saying if this is a coordinated thing that he's not being tested, I am going to hypothesize with strong confidence why that would be, okay? Conor's leg broke in half. Okay? Conor's leg broke. I mean, you guys saw ankle, bang. That's a serious injury. And I realized like Conor's sitting there and somehow stays composed and is screaming at Dustin Poirier. His eyes were this big, like the adrenaline in his, I mean, that was crazy. Like, if you actually watch that clip back and you look at his pupils, they were literally like this big. You know, he's on drugs. It's like, dude, his leg broke in half, you know? He has adrenaline pulsing through every vein in his body. And he's on the microphone with a snapped leg, ignoring the pain somehow, and screaming at Dustin about his wife being in his DMs. Dr. Stoppage. He's a savage, dude. Like seriously, like let me just stop real quick and just say that. He's a savage, man. A savage. And he's trying to sell the next fight. He's trying to make sure he knows the outcome of this fight is not him winning. And so he's trying to make sure that he gets that next fight locked up right then. That's what he's doing. That is why he's on the microphone right there doing that. Awesome. But anyway, serious injury. Very serious injury. Okay. So can you think of any reason that they might want to kind of like, you know, put the curtains up on USADA for the next like year and a half, right? So that Conor's leg will heal as fast as possible. You think if there's anything you could put in your body that'll speed up the healing process and make sure that you heal as strong as possible? Because spoiler, there's a lot of shit you can put in your body that'll help you heal, that'll help a bone grow stronger, okay? Help a bone grow stronger, help it grow faster, help the muscles around it, you know, that like partially atrophied because you can't use it, okay? All of that stuff is dramatically enhanced if you have free reign to put whatever the fuck you want in your body, okay? So I'll just be totally straight with you guys. I don't even have a problem with that. I honestly don't even have a problem. If there was a way for all of, you know, the UFC and all the fighters and everybody to just kind of change the way that they, you know, do the testing and stuff to where if someone is healing a catastrophic injury, you know, like something like Thiago Santos went through when he, you know, folded all of his ligaments, or anybody who like gets like an ACL tear. I obviously it would be weird to kind of like, well, how serious are we talking? But like a catastrophic injury like that, fuck you, USADA, man. Like you're talking about these guys' lives. Like let them take what they need to take for the short period of time that they need for it to heal, like for it to heal well. Because again, HGH is an example, right? Like that will absolutely 100% help your healing process. I'm sure there's a million other things that they can take. I'm good with that personally. Like I'm good with that. And I think everybody should have the ability to do that. It's messy because how do you determine what's big, like I said, big enough injury to kind of like kick that little provision into place. And then, do you have to, and then you have to test clean for however long, before you come back. Because the thing is, if they're nursing the injury, that's kind of the whole point. If they're nursing the injury and they're taking it to heal, it's not like they're going to be able to like get a, 2 minute. Well, that's actually not true. I was going to say they can't really get like a bunch of gains from it because they can't train. But Conor looks like he made some pretty strong gains while he was off of his legs. He's jacked, son. But, and again, let me just retract that actually. I don't mean like made gains off of it because I don't have any idea if he's on anything. I literally have no idea. It's just incredibly suspicious that he's not been tested since the Poirier fight, right? Like why? How is that? He's still active? Like, I don't understand. How is that happening? And you got to figure, he's been in the United States. The only thing that makes sense to me is that the organization was like, just let the guy heal. But again, I have no idea. That's just pure speculation based on the fact that it's Conor. And I'm trying to like think of a reason that he would suddenly be out of the USADA. He's never had any problems with USADA. So why is he not getting tested? It's right when he had this catastrophic injury. That's all I can come up with. But it is a scandal, dude, because it calls into question the sanctity of the USADA UFC relationship, maybe, right? And again, this is not something that I know at all. I'm just saying these are data points that are coming out, and I don't hear anybody kind of putting them together. They're like, oh yeah, we don't know, man. Conor's the only guy who's hasn't been tested since July of 20. He's the only one. He's the only active fighter in the entire company that hasn't been tested in 22. I don't know. I don't know. You're like, do you have any ideas about why? Like, you don't have any ideas? Like nothing comes to mind about why that would potentially be the case. Anyway, but yeah, just to reiterate, I am a massive Conor fan. Obviously, there's no bigger fan of the UFC than me. So I am not trying to talk shit. I'm not trying to like throw rocks at the organization or Conor. It's just an important story to tell because, it just is. And if that is the case, and it's something that they like let him do to heal, I don't think that they did anything overtly corrupt kind of ethically in this one situation. I just think they should allow all fighters to do that, right? A catastrophic injury, just let them do what they need to do to heal. Because it's not performance enhancing, then it's healing advancing. You know, remember when Adrian Peterson shredded his ACL and he was back in like 6 months or something, some crazy number like that? And then like, they were all, I can't remember, like there was some rumors about that, but yeah, I mean, Conor, dude, stem cells, I don't even know if that's a banned substance, but anyway, that's what I got. Love you guys. Peace.